Hey, Paul.
Hey guys, I was nearly going to clap a yawn there.
Not a good time.
Yeah, but there seems to be more and more of that going on in flight decks around the world lately.
Nice segue into the opening story of
Yeah.
episode 148 of the Bryan Air podcast.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. Pilots are exhausted, dozing on a plane, the article says.
Yeah.
So how tired are you really? Now, this was an interesting one because I actually first saw this on LinkedIn, and it was a Business Insider article, and it says there a significant number of European pilots are facing extreme fatigue, with around 75% admitting to having experienced micro sleeps, whatever that is, while operating flights, according to a survey conducted by Bain Simmons for the European Cockpit Association. Less than a quarter of the surveyed pilots believe that fatigue risk is well managed at their own airlines, especially pilots flying in the UK. Many find it difficult to file fatigue reports, with only 10% saying that these reports lead to any safety improvements whatsoever. Then there were lots of comments on this, a lot of pilots from all over the place. Some names I actually recognized. And basically the consensus is pretty straight and clear. Everyone's flying their guts off and they're tired. And what do you have to see? You're not flying at the moment, so but we see it.
Oh yeah.
And we talking to a lot of pilots, and the common thread is there.
It's not just in Europe as well. It's worldwide. I think, it's a bit of a catch-22 for the industry because, yes, pilots are flying really, really hard now. And it's good, that everyone is back to flying and aviation is just happening. But yeah, there is that safety element, which is a bit concerning. Pilots are being pushed to the max.
So I think one of the things that needs to be said, so one very prominent South African pilot wrote on their well-known guy, he said it's even worse in South Africa because it's almost as if the airlines are mandated to get the maximum out of their pilots for that roster duty period.
Yeah, well,
so it's like if the rosterer is getting the maximum out of the pilot, then the rosterer is doing his job.
Yeah. Look, it's all as a result of recovering from the Rona hoax. Airlines are forced to try and be, more streamlined, more profitable, and operate as lean as they possibly can. But, at the risk of just pushing your pilots to sheer burnout point is kind of dodgy. But then they also are dealing with a shortage of pilots to an extent. And
it depends where you are.
Yeah. So no, look, I sympathize with the guys. It's I'm not flying at the moment. I feel just as tired, but that's obviously because of my home life and a little 1.5-year-old that doesn't seem
to stop.
Yeah, she doesn't think it's necessary for us to sleep. So I'm actually quite glad I'm not in their position now, because feeling like I do now without a flying job and then having the stress of that, I think I'd be wrecked. I'd be totally wrecked.
Yeah, except there are a lot of guys that are in your position with the home life that are flying at the moment.
And I sympathize with them because it's not easy.
So this one LinkedIn user says, I've been saying over and over again for as far back as 2016, fatigue management is not about sleep science. It's about cognitive fatigue. More tasks, less time equals higher workload. Think about being in the simulator. You can have a good night's sleep and a daytime sim slot, and yet you come out of the sim session knackered. No fatigue management system or biomechanical scoring system would pick that up, but it's a thing. It's time to act, and if we have no time to lose, we must reestablish a socially and physiologically sustainable safety prioritizing European aviation for the benefit and protection of European citizens. What we are doing now is actively aligning the holes of the Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a real factor, because at the end of the day, pilots are probably not the best negotiators around, particularly post-COVID.
Yes.
And, of course, everyone's happy to have positions and all the rest. But I think this scenario of just flying flat out, month after month after month, eventually something's going to happen. And why do we have to wait for something to happen?
Yeah.
And look, the laws have to be put in place, like this is what you're allowed to do. But does that mean that's what you're supposed to do? And when they're, we're so quality driven these days and safety is everything, yet do things like this pop up in safety audits? Do they come up at, hey, hang on, you might be pushing these guys too hard?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does come up, and it might be one of those aspects in the meetings which is like, well, we'll deal with that later, knowing that, there's a potential for severe cost implications if that is given too much attention.
Or it does come up and then the operator says, look, I'm operating within the rule of law. So, I mean, it's pointless.
Again, well, I think it's catch-22 as well, is this is obviously going to play into the hands of those airlines and operators and manufacturers that are pushing really hard for this single pilot operation thing.
Yeah.
So it's, I suppose, why we don't want to be overly vocal about it, do we? Because, it's going to fan that up and it's going to justify that whole aspect a whole lot more, which I think is coming regardless. But,
yeah, the single pilot stuff.
Yeah, does it motivate it? Does it
I don't know, but the reality is right here, right now, there's a lot of pilots flying around the world that are bloody tired.
Yeah.
And all the articles and everyone you speak to, kind of that thread is there.
Yeah.
And normally when something is like that, then there's a potential accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, that, and also you start to see that the guys get worn down quite quickly. And it kind of destroys their love of the job as well. When you're tired and hurtful, you sort of tend to not enjoy it that much. And I've spoken to a lot of guys who have now just said that this is a job.
Well, how tired are you? And I suppose how much can people actually say? You can't exactly be an Emirates driver and then say, "Yo, I'm exhausted. I did this and this and this," and so you don't hear it. And that's the other thing. There's like, we know about it. We're in the industry, but do the traveling public know about it? Probably not. They might be horrified to know that the oak that's about to fly them to Dubai is exhausted, but
feeling rougher than a lizard's ball bag. But
so anyway, we can't do anything about it on the Bryan Air podcast. But what we can do is just sympathize and let us know. If you can let us know, I'd appreciate it.
Maybe there's guys out there that know of programs or things that are actually being done to manage us.
Maybe have a sleep.
Yeah, well,
it's a pretty basic program. The sleep sorts out everything. Let's face it. I mean, any health-driven app, any health program, number one thing on there is going to be sleep. It's all based on sleep. Your recovery for the next day is based how well did you sleep the night before? How close to did you eat close to your bedtime? Did you drink alcohol? Did that affect your sleep? Because all those things affect your sleep.
Yeah.
So your recovery is wholly based on the quality of the sleep that you got. The quality of the sleep that you got.
So I was wondering about this. I mean, you wearing the Whoop band, big proponent of that. And, if they were to insist that pilots start wearing those things so that they could start track, would that be a benefit, or does that make things worse?
Well, I tell you what, I don't think that'll ever happen, because it's so clear. If I drink alcohol close to bedtime.
What do you mean if?
Yeah, when it picks up it's a huge detriment to my recovery the next day. I'm still sleeping, but the quality of the sleep wasn't good. Last trip when I traveled to France, I had a decent sleep there in the seat, but you woke up the next day, the recovery was in the red because the quality of the sleep wasn't good. Yeah. You think you were sleeping, but you were kind of light sleep, waking up, So quality of sleep is everything. Now, you just said, if they're programs. The reality is for longevity, health, everything, you need to sleep. You have to have good quality sleep consistently. So again, the Whoop app, it tells you, it gives you advice on how to actually, what you can do. So one of the things it shows you is what things actually improve your recovery. Now, one of the things that greatly improves your recovery is going to bed and waking up at consistent times.
Yeah.
If I've got early sim slots or something like that and getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, again, I might have got 8 hours of sleep because I went to bed at 6 o'clock, but the quality wasn't quite there because it messed up my rhythm a bit. So there's a whole whack of things. And the reality is the pilots are probably not sleeping nearly as much as they should be for their own personal health. Might be good for the airlines that are making decent money off them. I don't see it change. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
But it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, no, definitely. Shucks, I can just imagine what Val's going to say when she listens to this conversation.
Yeah, next story.
Yeah.
Riyadh Air launches ambitious recruitment drive. I have a feeling that Riyadh Air is going to be a bit of a lifeline to a lot of pilots seeking new opportunities. How many times have we had it where an airline has started up and on day one they're going to have a whole whack of 787s. They're busy looking for a narrow body as well. And the infrastructure that you're walking into is brand new. So in other words, let's say you wanted to go to, you got into Emirates tomorrow and you wanted to become an instructor there. You would obviously fall in line and there might be a list of, I don't know, a whole whack of people that want that job. Now you basically are joining an existing infrastructure that's been there for a long time. You're a number in a system and you got to work your way. This is a brand new airline where a lot of people might be looking at this saying, hey, there's a fresh sheet of paper here and I can either use that to start at this airline in a new sort of role. So go in, let's say if you want to, not a line pilot, you go in as an instructor role or whatever, just as an example. Or someone that's just looking to be at an airline nice and high on a seniority list. Not that seniority would be a thing there, but you would still be able to say, look, I joined right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that might appeal to a lot of people. So, a very ambitious recruitment drive that they're going on. And obviously they've had that multi-billion-dollar transaction for 72 Boeing 787 Dreamliners. And the aim is to start in 225.
I do think that there are going to be guys that have a look at this and find it appealing. I mean, like you say, to join an organization like that, that's basically a blank sheet of paper with a fresh start. It's exciting. I was watching a YouTube channel not so long ago about this travel blogger, and he was passing through Saudi and Riyadh in particular. Shucks, man, you must see the infrastructure that's going up there.
Yeah, what they're putting up.
Yeah, it's it really is developing fast, and it's quite cool.
I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. Everything we've read, and one of the things here that I like, one of the ways they're using to try and encourage people to go to this airline is they are saying that it's going to be, from a lifestyle perspective, is going to be better than other existing airlines. So they're actually using that, targeting that as saying. So maybe this whole I
also just hope that that's not a case of
it could be, right?
You know, let's bait them while that's a hot topic.
It could be. I mean, let's face it. So you can check it out, riyadhair.com. Pilots, cabin crew, engineering. So they're taking on pilots already. They started the whole process. Cabin crew will be a bit later. Engineering, they started. And then all the corporate stuff's already well on its way.
Yeah.
If you want to apply there as a pilot, you just got to put your details in. There's a careers section there. Put your details in and then take it from there. I do think, so these are all current opportunities. And you'll be looking for future opportunities somewhere down here. You'll find it, but quite interesting. And I think I do think that this is a very viable opportunity for a lot of people that are seeking employment and they just want a fresh start.
Yeah, that's great to have it. And I mean, I still do think that their choice of livery is one of the best. I mean,
it's really good.
The plane looks really, really good. So it can be quite cool to see a whole lot of those bombing around.
I think that's very cool.
No doubt we'll probably see our pal Josh Cahill in the reviews there.
Yeah.
See what he has to say when they get started. Exciting.
Yeah, good times. Have a look at that. I think my recommendation there, have a squiz at their website at least. Flight MH370, a team of scientists may have found the missing aircraft's location. Ryan, you watched the documentary.
I did. And look, I think it's a lost cause. When I saw this pop up, I still thought, why are they starting this again? They've literally a long time ago.
What do you mean, pal? They're using a weak signal propagation reporter, WSPR technology.
Yeah.
The amateur radio technology detects disturbances caused by an aircraft traveling through a WSPR link, providing new evidence in the search.
Okay. And this happened
that's done. I mean, they found it.
Nearly a decade.
Don't be a doubter.
Yeah.
So this is based on 125 disturbances over the 6 hours and 27 minutes of the aircraft's flight path. The prime suspect crash location is 842 miles from Perth.
We'll believe it when we see it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Next one. Qantas CEO has left early. Isn't he your mate, the Boots?
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, he was the Boots on the ground. And now he's backed off.
Yeah.
Or has he? I don't know.
He has. He's left early. He was supposed to go in November, but he's ducked early. So he's faced some scrutiny from a parliamentary committee regarding flight delays, ticket prices, because of a public cost of living crisis in Australia. Despite these controversies, the airline reported record annual pre-tax profits of nearly 2.5 billion Aussie dollars. And
have they said who's going to replace him?
Yeah, their CFO Vanessa Hudson has taken over.
Okay.
Yeah. So boots on the ground guy's gone. Right. Canadian pilots look for higher pay in the US. Big problem in Canada because across the border, folks are earning so much more.
Yeah.
It's not too far. See the family on holidays, but we're off to the US. And the US taking them with open arms because they need the pilots.
Yeah.
Causing a major issue in Canada because you've got the guys that ordinarily would be at the regionals going off to the bigger airlines there, leaving a big void at the regionals that fly to the smaller destinations. And in Canada, there's a lot of smaller destinations. It's not all Toronto, Montreal.
Yeah, there's hundreds of those tiny locations with smaller operators. No doubt Al McCauley will be able to weigh in on this.
Yeah.
Based on his experience when he was our correspondent in Montreal.
Yeah.
No.
Our Geneva correspondent.
Yeah. And he might be able to weigh in on this because I do remember him saying a long time ago, listen, guys, there's opportunities in Canada.
Yeah.
And this is only going to exacerbate those issues if the guys are all hooking it down south to the States.
Big opportunities there. Hey, it's Al's birthday, by the way.
It is, yeah. I did send him a message earlier, but on the show,
Al.
have a magic one. And thanks for your weekly dose of support. We hope you have a magic day and that Kimmy's going to spoil you rotten.
No doubt, no doubt. Carrying on, Ryanair sees record passengers for fourth consecutive month. They just seem to be going. Every article you read about Ryanair, there's expansion, there's employment, there's new routes. It's pretty wild to see, and it's just proof that business model just seems to work.
Does work. But have you seen how many memes are out at the same time about all their landings? Like what's going on?
What is it with that?
I don't know.
Why are they known for their shit
reputation for not being able to fucking land? I mean, come on.
Hey, that's weird.
I don't know if.
But I mean, what? Why?
No, it appears that all their landings, it's like a mandatory thing to land that thing at 7 Gs or whatever.
I know. And it's well known on the net. I mean, you check it everywhere.
Crazy.
Yeah. United, they grounded all their flights the other day after an equipment outage. I don't know if there's been any more news on this one, but they stopped all flights on Tuesday to deal with an equipment failure. It was a complete meltdown. Now, you earlier on said, we're going single pilot ops and there's plenty of articles out that we could have spoken about today about pilotless flights, and because there is this push.
Yes.
There was something on Fly Africa. Someone put something up about this, and one of the guys that commented there, a guy I know well, he's a 380 skipper, and he said, "Look, you can't even get an Airbus to intercept the localizer properly." And they're talking about single pilot ops and pilotless ops. And then you've got a software meltdown that stops flights from taking off. Now, while we still have this stuff, Ryan, and while it's going, and we all deal with it all the time, doesn't matter where you're working, what company you're with, or what area you work in, you're so dependent on hardware and software. And if there is a meltdown of one or the other, you basically come to a complete grinding halt.
Well, it happened this weekend in the UK as well. And if you saw those articles, didn't bring it up here, but there was that malfunction in the systems that brought the flight planning system, I think it was, to a standstill as well. And the pommies didn't know what the hell to do, because now they had to go and file manual flight plans.
Yeah, I haven't done one of those.
And it caused a massive cock up.
But the point is, I mean, while all this is, if we can't master these basic things, let's face it, pretty basic, how on earth are you going to rely on software and AI to just sort out the flying part? I think, when we started off talking about it, I thought, this is around the corner. I don't know if it's around the corner. I'm
changing tact on that one.
Changing a bit, because I have no doubt it's coming. Everything progresses. It's just the natural way. But this isn't something that's around the corner. There's no ways, man.
Yeah.
There's no ways.
Interesting. This guy's. I mean, no, I agree. I don't think it's around the corner. Probably not in the next decade or so.
Oh, I've no doubt that it's going to. I mean, I've no doubt that they're going to have proof of concept things going on much quicker than that.
Yeah.
I think there'll be, cargo flights first and a proof of concept, hey, this works. But like with all these meltdowns, Southwest, how many times have we spoken about Southwest on the show when they've had their meltdowns? You mentioned the ATC things in the UK, this in the States. I mean, that's just, we've spoken about it on the podcast plenty. All of this is because the system that they're using basically there's too much in it now. It can't handle
overloaded.
It's overloaded. And in order for them to get this right, they actually have to shut the system down, build onto it, and then use it again. It's very difficult to do while things are happening.
Yeah.
And you look at the money, like Southwest they invest per year into their IT and all that stuff's massive. Now, how does it, there has to be some sort of software infrastructure for these pilotless flights and things like that to work.
You just got me thinking. I mean, it's like, how often doesn't your computer come to a bit of a standstill when you need a software update?
Exactly.
So imagine now there's this like pilotless thing going on, and like halfway through the flight, it's like, I've just realized I need an update.
Exactly. And you know what it's like. You can have the best car in the bloody world, but if you really want to get A to B, you're going to use your iPhone or your Android and use Google Maps because you know that Google Maps is going to take you there. So when it comes to like software, Apple, Samsung, you're not going to beat them. Who's going to be making the software for these things? I mean, what FMSs and things like that, they're not the most user-friendly things in the world. They certainly don't work seamlessly like your phone does.
Yeah.
I don't see Apple taking over the hardware side of an Airbus. You know what I'm trying to say?
Can you imagine that?
It's not going to happen. So
make an Airbus way more reliable.
It would. It would. No, but that's the point. It absolutely would make it more reliable because they make better software. They make the best. So now, and hardware, sorry. So, anyway, it's something to keep an eye on. But I still think we're a little bit away from that.
Yeah.
Aviation safety. Have you seen these gender reveal stunts that have been going on?
Yeah, this last one that happened. I've seen that video. If I've seen that video once, I think I've seen it 100,000 times the last week. Look, very, very sad. But I mean,
sad and stupid. I'm sorry, but
like that must have been. Well, I can only think that it was let the load go and then try to pull up too quickly, overloaded the G-force on the wings, and the structure just said, "How's it?"
Yeah, the pilot of a Piper Pawnee was killed Saturday, 2nd of September, when the aircraft broke up during a sharp pull-up for a gender reveal stunt that was in Mexico. Yeah, videos there. It's actually horrible to see. But the one comment there made sense. It could have been that this pilot was so concentrated on releasing either the pink or the blue. You see, we know all about gender reveal things, like experts at it.
Yeah.
And so concentrating on this and getting ready to pull it at the right time, which he did, and then looked up, and there were actually, if you look at that video, there are trees at the end. You might have seen those trees too late, yanked on the control column, and then those wings just folded up and pranged. But there's been lots of these. I mean, I think this was the second one recently.
Yeah.
And then there was something else the other day. There were two people getting married or something. They were standing at the end of a field, and this guy came, very low. It was an accident waiting to happen. You just...
No, there's been more and more of this type of thing happening. A ridiculous one that was doing the rounds a couple of weeks ago was actually at a school event as well.
Yes.
Where this guy came past. I mean, should do what you want, but don't go and fly an airplane like that in front of
that's
full of school children.
That was also, there was like a bit of debate on that one on social media. Some people saying, in our day, that was fine. Or the point is, you were in a confined space around young kids.
Yeah.
You're flying a crop sprayer. No one really wants to see that crop sprayer anyway. I mean, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not a Mustang or something.
No.
So just,
I think they need to cool it on these over elaborate gender reveals as well. I mean,
that's pushing. I mean, that's all for the gram, eh?
Yeah, no, it's a bit ridiculous, man. Come on.
It is. Another safety issue that is being felt, particularly in the States, because of their ridiculous sort of green energy laws and all this bullshit. So obviously you're not allowed to have your APU running when the packs are boarding or between flights up until when the packs board.
Yeah.
Even during the boarding process, the APU must be off. But it's leading to very, very hot cabin temperatures.
Yeah.
You know what that's all about.
Man, there is nothing more uncomfortable than climbing into like a fully loaded 737 or something like that, and that APU is not working. 737 is one thing. I've been in a 340 once when the APU wasn't working, and it was sweltering, middle of summer. Man,
it's not fun.
Traveling like that is not fun to begin with.
No.
When you're hot and uncomfortable, it actually just sends your mood meter even further into the red. No, they're pushing limits, really.
They are. But this is all, but does it weigh into our story that we opened up with? So you've got these pilots that have flown 100 hours in the bloody month. They're flipping exhausted, pilots and cabin crew. And now you get a 40-minute turnaround. It's just long enough to be uncomfortable, but not long enough to go into the terminal to grab yourself a decent, McDonald's or something. So you're sitting in the aircraft. It's boiling hot, sweating your balls off.
Yeah.
And that
just adds to it, eh?
It does, man. It just adds to this whole thing. Then you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're sitting on this fur seat and your back is soaking wet.
And that thing starts to smell a bit rancid after a while. That was the worst thing for me. Like, you do a crew change and you got off in flight and then you got in that sweaty seat afterwards.
Sucks, eh?
I felt so stiff right there. Live the dream, boys.
But it's all because I get it. I mean, you're burning more fuel and you could potentially be violating the pledges to lessen greenhouse gas pollution.
No, but they must come up with another solution. I mean, put those air conditioning carts in or something.
Yeah, something for the crew just to get some air.
Yeah.
So that's bullshit.
And added to that, there are some airlines as well that I've heard don't even let their pilots have more than a bottle of water or a liter bottle. They restrict how much water they
to give the
crew. You got to take your own food. Like literally, do not feed or water the pilots.
Yeah, that just to me seems crazy. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems nuts.
It's ludicrous.
I mean, I suppose if you add all of it up and it is an expense, but I mean, surely
look after your crew.
Surely you should be looking after your crew.
Yeah.
And giving them a decent, nutritious meal and
healthy
water.
meals. Yeah.
And I can understand cold drinks and things like that.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
Yeah,
but
put
water,
a limit on that. But water is essential. And I mean, meals that are like reasonably healthy.
Yeah.
And somewhat nutritious, like you say. Not that manky cheese and biscuits.
No, that's
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right, some African news, bro.
Yeah.
So let's carry on with the little topic we started there with. You mentioned pilotless flight and single pilot ops. Well, KFC delivered their first ever order by drone the other day. It was during a cricket game, T20 game against Australia. They delivered David Miller a KFC. Right. So this is obviously something that they're looking at, and this is the first sort of proof of work that, hey, this can be done. Then another article popped up. I saw this one on the most accurate news source in the world.
Oh, yeah.
South African National Blood Service delivery drones set to take off soon after 5 years of turbulence. So the initiative has been plagued with challenges over the first 5 years. Drones such as this could be a significant step forward in speeding up blood transport. And I want to have a chat about this. Who's going to fly this thing?
Yeah.
And first of all, so there was a bit of a funny convo the other day on Fly Africa. Someone, I can't remember how it started, but it was about drones.
Yeah.
And is a drone pilot a real pilot? Let's just call it the way it is. You're not a real pilot.
No.
A drone pilot is not coming. And I think if you asked any drone pilot, they themselves would say,
no, they own it, man. They wear it.
okay, well, they're not, because it's not the same thing. They should be categorized a bit
the
different.
same thing. No.
It's like you getting on your Harley and then saying, I'm the same as Brad Binder. You know, it's just...
Well, there were occasions where I came very close.
But anyway, okay, that's not the point. Is this thing going to be automated, or these things, or are they going to have pilots?
No, they're going to have pilots because, listen here,
but
it's going to lead to job creation, my man. But why do you think they started off with a KFC drone?
Those are dangerous goods that are being flown around. That's seriously dangerous goods.
That's exactly why I was having a bit of a chuckle to myself.
And now you're going to have these things flying by a drone.
Yeah, bro. You're going to have blood and chicken cruising around in drones.
Through Johannesburg
CTR.
In summer.
Yeah. So chances are that you might have ordered your KFC lunch and you'll end up with a free blood sample.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't see it working.
No, that's bullshit.
What a joke. I mean, at the end of the day, just last week we had the convo about that drone that smacked an A380 in Italy.
Exactly.
You know, they haven't figured out how to sort all that out. Now you want to fly your blood
I
and
would
chicken.
be surprised if there was a South African blood service drone that smacked that. It ended up in France.
Destination Kempton Park.
Yeah. Oh, not that Kempton Park. Yeah, anyway, I just I don't know. I don't know.
It's a bit far-fetched. I can't see it happening. And I think someone points out as well that, like...
I mean, Amazon haven't even got it working properly with their Amazon.
Yeah.
Now the South African National Blood Service can have it. You know, sometimes these things come out and they just...
No, but, take it from the news
If
source.
you're not discovering... Like, South Africa can discover variants and that's it. I mean...
Very good at that.
Fucking ninjas.
Man, we haven't even gotten the automatic passport control figured out. You know, things like that. Now we want to advance to...
Yeah. Anyway.
It could turn into a bit of a rant.
Yeah, it has already. It has already. Right, next story, staying with things in South Africa. SAF Air have a legit paint scheme on their Or an aircraft, yeah.
No, it looks pretty cool.
Hey, how's that jersey?
It's proper.
Hey, very nice, eh?
Look, they definitely are leading the patriotism bit, and
Safi are excellent like that. I think they this whole thing with the Springboks and them being the sort of, it's like
flag carrier.
Yeah, it's totally cool with all the flyovers of the stadium and all the rest.
Yeah,
looks really, really good. And I like how they've done it. It's got that sort of vibe, that old school vibe about it as well.
It's old school and classy, and almost looks. I mean, I think I've seen a few like BBJs almost painted in a similar,
very similar. Yeah,
very, very lacquer.
Staying with them, Kirby Gordon says ticket prices are going to get cheaper in South Africa. Basically, there's more aircraft on the line, so there's seat capacity this year that there wasn't last year. Decent article, you can check it out. Link in the notes there. But basically, it looks like last year there was a few economic things that were causing issues, but the main thing was there were just a simple lack of seats.
Yeah.
So the airlines have all been working on increasing capacity, and that should lead to a bit of cost saving for the consumer there going into the holiday season.
Well, we hope so, because, I mean, it is ridiculously expensive to travel by air at the moment.
It is.
Yeah.
You will not be traveling by air if you're with Nigeria Air, because their project has been suspended by the aviation minister.
You know, I didn't see that coming. Eh?
No, me neither.
I'm actually very surprised that that they're not getting it right.
Transparency issues need to be resolved first. The fate of the flag carrier remains uncertain as legal issues continue to challenge its certification process. The ministers also ordered international airlines to relocate to the new terminal. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So check that out there, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, very un-Nigerian.
Yeah. Where should we go next, yeah? Recruitment news?
Yeah, so
there's a cadet program here for Fly Safi. I'll leave the link in the notes there.
Okay.
Program requirements. All right. Grade 12. Okay, Ryan, you fucked.
Oh, yeah, no, that's me out of the running. Shit.
Just must be in a possession of a frozen valid ATP. Okay, you do okay. They're class 1 medical, you fucked. So 2 out of the 3, you fucked.
Do me a favor. I can't see because obviously, like my medical, I am starting to, my eyes are getting a bit shit now. But what are the hour requirements there? Just as a matter of interest, because Airlink have also got some sort of a cadet type program going.
Yeah, let's see if I find it here. Suitable qualified candidates, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't say anything.
Nothing to do with hours, eh?
No.
Interesting.
Wow, what does Link say?
Yeah, well, they've got, what do they call it? This program where you can join as a cadet, but then they want to send you on a Connect program. So they send you on an advanced course or something like that, which you pay for.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Self-funded type thing. And then that sets you up for an opportunity to at least get an interview at a chance of perhaps getting employment at the airline.
Well, this leads to something I want to talk about. It's actually today's advisory. So should we go there now?
Let's jump right in.
It's led into it there. So my advisory today is actually like maybe speaking to the operators a little bit, yeah, and say it's not all about hours. It's not all about logbook hours. And you know very well, an hour at a certain place and an hour somewhere else, the discrepancy is massive. Yeah. You can have as many hours as you want. If they don't match the type of flying that you're going to go do, those hours are useless. If you want to go crop spraying in Mexico, your 30,000 hours flying a 380 probably ain't going to help, and vice versa. Now, we've had we've got someone, a mutual friend and a mutual colleague, actually. She's going to hate us for mentioning her name, but Caroline Cole. She's been with us now for a while. We got to know her through the podcast, and we started working together. And Caroline was one of these people that whenever we needed something done, she'd say to us, can she help? And we'd give her a project and she would go and complete this project. So much so that she was supposed to be with us for about 2 weeks. I don't know how long she's been with us for, going on 6 months now, even longer. But Caroline is one of these girls that, and this ties into the advisory, whenever she does something, she does it at 100%. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be the most mundane little project, 100%. It can be something more important on the financial side she's helping us with, 100%. Something basic like helping a new student that hasn't quite grasped the SOPs or whatever. Caroline, please can you help this guy with radio work, things like that, whatever, 100%. The guy comes out, different story. So my advisory this week is to do everything at 100%. Drive to work, drive the best you possibly can. Get given a project, do the project to completion and 100%. We also had someone working for us in the past. Total opposite. She would always rock up, would ask her to do something and then rock up, and she would have completed 70% of the project. Said, well, here's all the information, and then we kind of had to piece it all together. With old Caroline, boom, it's all done, all ready to go. Research, that's where she got the information from. I can't speak highly enough of Caroline. She is absolutely superb. Now, she falls into this little bracket where I think she got about 800 hours or
about 600 odd
600 hours, somewhere around there.
But yeah,
she's not 200 hours and she's not 2,000 hours. She's like in this, she can't really afford to go fork out money to get a opportunity for a job. It's too expensive for someone like that. And she's also not 19 years old. Started flying a little bit later. So what does the industry do with people like that? And I think if knowing Caroline, if I worked at one of these airlines, Airlink, a Safair, and I had the opportunity to take on her, I wouldn't even hesitate. I would not hesitate. She's been offered a few opportunities at one or two rinky-dink operators with a real rinky-dink salary that is just, someone her age, our age, can't afford that. You can't afford to go there. And knowing the value that she's brought us, and I'm not, and you might ask, well, why aren't we holding on to her? She wants to go and fly. And, we've encouraged her to go and fly, but she can only go when there's an opportunity there. And I just know how good she is from organizing, from pilots, airlines. How often do you need someone to do a relatively complex project for you? If you're going to let's say a new destination, you got to build up a proper, what they call a route briefing and all this and array. For doing stuff like that should be absolutely superb. And I know that should add a lot of value to an airline, but you can't find a job. So you got this job all these shortages we hear about all the time, and there's all these new opportunities, become a cadet, this and that. But what about that bracket between 300 hours or 200 hours up to about 1,000 hours?
Yeah.
And so it's a bit of it's not all about the hours. Hours are not fair and equal. And you and I haven't flown for a few years, but we're heavily involved in the industry. That obviously would count against us if we went to apply for a flying job. Because I say, but you haven't been flying. Now, I would argue that what we've done in the last 3 years has brought our knowledge of the aviation industry far higher than it would have been if I was bombing around in the right seat of an aircraft.
Exactly, and that's where sometimes I get so frustrated with this industry as a whole, is because there's these little loops of bureaucracy and red tape that are actually bullshit. Like you say, I mean, that bracket of where she is right now, she's worked bloody hard to get her license. She's very, very competent. And like you said, I couldn't agree more. Someone that gives 110% all the way, all the time. I do feel that people like that should be given a chance and an opportunity to prove themselves and not just limited on this hour requirement. Because what's different for someone like that is they've got life experience. They've got life experience that you will not get out of a 19-year-old.
No.
That's for sure. And
but you get competency in other areas too. And
exactly.
I understand. You've got this competency in this very narrow band. You can go and fly an aircraft. But pilots are used in managerial roles at airlines consistently.
Not just about the flying.
It's not just about the flying. And I'd argue the point that those good managers and those people that you have in those positions, they're the critical ones, because they almost determine the pilot culture at the airline.
Yeah.
You know, they your negotiation team. And anyway, this isn't like a let's punt Caroline podcast, but just knowing the work she's done for us, knowing the work she's done in the past. She's the lady that writes this Essential Pilot radio book. Now, you know why she wrote this? Because when she was studying for her license, for pilot's license, the one we got, that real shitty book, she looked at it and said, no, this is crap. I can do it better. Exactly. So she went and wrote a book. Now, this is like go-to book. Everyone now uses this book. Yeah. It's superbly well written, and it's for sale. You can buy it online. We're actually going to give 2 away. Best comment on Apple Podcasts, going to give you a book. Yeah. Next Patreon subscriber, give you a book. So if you want a book, that's where you're going to get it. But Bryan advisory this week: do everything at 100%. Make it a habit. Yeah. And you'll find there's big benefit there. I mentioned to you before we started the show today, do you find that the real benefit comes between most people that give you something at, let's say, 80%. The real value is that extra 20%. Because you yourself could have done it quickly at 80%. You might be working on something else so you can do it quickly. But that real value is when you actually go and just put that cherry on the top. Yeah. So, that's it. Give it your absolute all. Do it. Put it at 100%. Make sure that becomes a habit, and then you end up.
And I think it's something that you need to apply to everything that you're doing in life. Yeah. I mean, that you can't be giving your A game in some areas and being slack in others. Yeah. Just give 100% at everything. Yeah. And the reward will definitely be somewhere at the end. That's no 2 ways about it.
That's it. So shout out to Caroline. Thanks for all the help that you've done for us. Upcoming events this weekend: Virginia Air Show.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
That looks like it's going to be quite exciting.
Apparently, it's not going to be a huge show. I'm sure that the Virginia Air Show, probably of all the air shows, it's the one where I think you get closest to the aircraft. Yeah, it's got that sort of old school vibe. I think it's starting on Saturday. Yeah, it's just Saturday, 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Go down and support them there. You can buy your tickets at Ticket Pro. It's always a cool air show. If you're in the Durban area, it's a no-brainer. Go down there and watch that. Israel Adesanya is fighting Sean Strickland this weekend in the UFC. That's going to be a cracker. If you want to watch that, it's in Oz, so work out when it's going to be time-wise, probably early in the morning. Yeah. And Rugby World Cup underway this week. Friday, New Zealand take on France. Who's your money on for that one?
Listen,
not that you have any money, but anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, what are you talking about? but because of what happened last weekend, and by virtue of the fact that we are very close to French, my money's on France. Mm-hmm. I want to see them kick Kiwi ass tomorrow.
I think they will, though.
I really do hope so. And I'm actually looking forward to that opening match. I think it's going to be one hell of a vibe. And Sunday's game in the evening. So I'm going to be sure to have a couple of beers in my hand. And a bra going.
Scotland, eh?
Yeah.
Boca, Scotland.
Yeah. And
what time in the evening do you know?
I think the game starts at 17:45.
Can't wait for that one, eh?
Yeah, it's going to be big and exciting. Yeah, I was actually joking with my brother-in-law the other day. He was saying, "Can you imagine how much productivity is going to tank in the next 6 weeks?" Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Any excuse.
Yeah, but don't let that stop you from giving 100%.
No, if you're gonna. Yeah.
Well,
I'd like to just give a shout out as well to Aussie Mike. Aussie Mike Mason is our new Patreon supporter. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Really
Aussie Mike is
appreciate
quite a fitting. He's got a new nickname.
Yeah, Aussie Mike.
Yeah. So we've got a correspondent in who is it? Broome, Australia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Aussie Mike, thanks, man. Really appreciate that. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, link in the notes there, and we really would appreciate your support. A lot going on at Sim Aero this week as well. You might have heard the cherry picker going off in the background there. We actually been replacing the Mylar screen on the 145 at the center, and it's the guys are there doing a good job moving things around, and going to have nice, very crisp visuals on the 145 in the next couple. Well, this should be sorted out pretty quickly, but it's unbelievable the work that they've been doing there, Ryan, what it looks like and all the rest. That mirror that you see there just reflects the visuals. It's almost like a tinfoil type of very, very brittle, very, very expensive. And the reason they use that as opposed to a mirror is that you can bend it around, and that reflects the visuals that you have in the simulator. So quite interesting seeing the guys work here and actually doing it. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to seeing those visuals. I think it's going to be bloody nice.
Very exciting. It was quite fascinating for all of us working here to actually see how that got done, because, I mean, I actually got to see what the simulator looks like inside when that dome comes off. So, yeah, very fascinating. And anyway, I got a lot of respect for these sim technicians. These guys, watching them put that Mylar on, I think there must have been a few heart-stopping moments, because if that stuff breaks, it's
and it tears very easily. And,
pretty expensive.
Yeah, pretty wild. Yeah. So that's it, pal. If you guys want the book, best comment on Apple Podcasts, next Patreon supporter.
Yeah, well worth it, and
let's go book that.
We appreciate the support. Really enjoyed it. Enjoy the rugby this weekend.
Thanks. I'm actually off to Sun City. Going to Valley of the Waves. Going to have a jaw beer there. So when you're having a beer at home, think of it.
I hope Take it easy.
Cheers.
Skywest 553 uniform, turn left heading 220 and contact Chicago departure. Left heading 220, contact departure, Skywest 553 uniform. United 204, fighting 270, 28 right, Echo, cleared for takeoff. 28 right, and Echo, cleared for takeoff, heading 270, United 204. Scout 51.